Hi guys, yes, Andy N. Fantastic, Ed Davis. My time for a break now. Straight over to Ed, and he's basically going to read out a short extract from his book. Over to you, mate.
All right, and I want to read the beginning because it has a few of the pieces we've talked about. The book begins with two quotes. The first is, "Brother, have you seen starlight on the rails? Have you heard the thunder of the fast express?" That one's from Thomas Wolfe, who was a guy who just loved trains. And the second is one that you'll probably recognize. It's, "Not all those who wander are lost." And that's from J.R.R. Tolkien, of course. Each chapter, as we discussed, begins with an epigraph, and here's the first one. "So pay attention now, my children, and the old story I will tell about the jungles and the freight trains and a breed of men who fell." It's by a fellow named Virginia Slim. We don't know anything else about him. Here's how the book starts. "Until the railroad arrived virtually at their doorsteps, most people lived within a day's walk of where they were born. America was smaller. Horizons meant something. The span of a life was measured out in strides. A desire for more, a restlessness of the soul always lay in wait. It was a gnawing in the gut that comfort would abate for most and conformity could subdue for others. Yet in the hearts of some, the compulsion to wander was so irresistible that they had no choice but to follow. On horseback, on a raft, or on the last of their shoe leather, they would eventually leave everything they knew, seek solace in movement, and go in search of themselves. These pilgrims who longed for a different path found that a river of steel had burst to life at their feet. Surging from the midst of the sprawling cities to the smallest hamlets, its tributaries traversed defiant mountain ranges, spanned impossibly vast prairies, and linked the remotest reaches of the country. Hobos, these pilgrims were called, phantoms of the road, and except to one another, they had no names. The river of steel still flows through the land, but it's a changed land and a changed river. Its tributaries no longer reach into every corner. Its currents are no longer inviting. The hobos that once were are no more, having caught the westbound long ago. At the time of this tale, late in the last century, their golden age was a distant memory, their legacy known to but a dwindling few." That's how the book begins.
That is such a great beginning to the book. I think it's what you're very, very good at, Ed, with the book is world building and doing what you've done there. I think really sets the scene really, really well with it. That's
Well,
why. So yeah, I'd recommend the books. Like it was one of the most vivid books I've read this year, without doubt on it. So straight now, I've got to ask you. Obviously, we talked a little bit about this before, and if people look at the back of you there, they can see a picture of Jack Kerouac as well. Now, I've got to ask you just generally here. So, what's your favourite Kerouac book then?
Favorite Kerouac book is The Dharma Bums.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I have a quick Kerouac story to tell.
Oh
So
yes.
when I was describing to you trying to hitchhike across the country, the first night we didn't get any rides. We ended up sleeping, my friend and I, under a bridge up north of here, by the Russian River. So fast forward a month or so, I'm working as a kitchen porter at the Isle of Mull Tobermory Inn or something like that. And somebody gives me a book. It's The Dharma Bums. I'd never read any Kerouac before, and I'm reading it. In the second or third chapter in, he sleeps under exactly the same bridge that
Oh
Paul and I
wow.
slept under, which was pretty cool.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Well, that's really cool. Like, yeah,
yeah,
he's one of
yeah,
these sort of guys. I think if you had met him in real life, you might have thought he was just ordinary, wasn't he? But he's
yeah.
somehow managed to make an impact to people's lives, didn't he? And like the impact in the '60s, everyone is taking off. He changed
Yeah,
society really, so in a really astonishing way. So
very, very much, and sort of a tragic character. If you've studied his life at all,
yeah, I have a bit. Yeah.
he was a magnificent writer, and only is now getting credit for having essentially created a new form. But what people were taking away from it was party, 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 be wild, live wild all the time, and they expected him to be that guy, and he wasn't. And it kind of drove him essentially to an early grave.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Like his drinking got out of hand, that's for sure. I've read it straight away, and it was like the
yeah,
time he got to, you think really scared. The time he got like 62 or something. Wasn't it what 5 years after he hit he went massive on the road. He was washed
yeah,
up basically. And I think he was one of these
yeah,
sort of people where like you're right, he couldn't take the fame, and it's You
Yeah.
think nowadays everyone's probably preconditioned to it more. It's just very unusual.
Yeah, I don't know. And speaking of autobiographical work, his work is all essentially one long story.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's all him and his observations of the people and the times and the country. I loved his relationship with the landscape.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's the
yeah.
part that speaks to me best.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of writing, a lot of haikus at the moment. I love his poems, as he calls them, and
Oh,
they're really,
yes.
yeah, really bright
Oh,
stuff they are. And it's like when I was at uni, like I said, 20 odd years ago now, it made me look at poetry in a very different way. I
yeah,
couldn't hope
yeah.
to write in that style because it was just
Oh,
off the time, and it's his voice is totally different to what my experience are in England. No, brilliant stuff. So, but anyway,
oh, yeah.
listen, we better get back to you, mate. Anyway, so we're probably coming chatting off a bit off mic. I know about other pieces and stuff, but we'll let you wrap
Right.
up here again anyway, mate. So it's been a pleasure, mate. So keep in touch. I would love to have you on again when the next book comes out, probably hopefully the short stories one, so I can ask you all these detailed questions about how your experiences are different from one book to another.
Awesome.
So
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough for having me on.
it's been a blast, mate. So keep in touch now. Anyway, guys and girls, as Don Callis over at Impact Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over. And we will see you all next time.